Welcome back to Race Report, everyone. This weekend saw us go to Belgium for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, and there is only one word to describe this race weekend, and it is wet. We saw wet practice sessions, we saw a fully wet qualifying, and we saw a race, or more accurately, we didn't see a race because the track was too wet. Of course, this is massively disappointing, and this video is going to be quite short because obviously nothing happened. There was no race, but I'll try and recap, the stuff coming into the weekend, what happened in qualifying, and touch on a few bits that happened on race day. So let's get stuck in. Coming into the weekend, it was the first race since the summer break, so we did have a few updates. So, for instance, Alonso and Perez confirmed their contracts with Alpine and Red Bull respectively for 2022. We also had a sneaky little tidbit from Mercedes saying they have confirmed who is driving for them in 2022. However, they will not tell us just yet. Oh, Mercedes, you old teasers. We also had a new calendar update. As we know from last week, Japan has been removed from the 2021 calendar, so they've shuffled things around. New dates have come in for existing races. There is still a to be confirmed race on there. I'll probably make a separate video on when that race is confirmed, drilling down on all of the new dates, where the races are, and where our new one is as well. That was all the news coming into the race. On Saturday, we did have a wet qualifying, where teams did start off on full wets, but then they did manage to change to inters. There's a bit of changeability, bit of strategy there. It was very good to see. And as always, when the track is wet, we do get a little bit of a mix-up, which is brilliant for us fans, right? We saw an incredibly impressive Norris for Q1 and Q2. Amazing. We saw Mercedes struggle even just to make it out of Q2. They did, but they had to use an extra set of intermediate tyres to do it. We also saw both Williams into Q2. Welcome Latifi to the Q2 party. Again, second time he's ever made it into Q2. That's brilliant to see. Russell did go one better and made it into Q3 as well. Probably the biggest surprise was Alonso going out in Q2. He was down in 14th. He said he never managed to switch things on. It is a bit of a shame and a bit of a shock, honestly. Alonso tends to be one of those guys that fares a little bit better when it gets wet. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. When we got into Q3, that's when things really heated up though, and in a bad way. First run was from Norris, and immediately big crash, red flag. It was one of those crashes that's really sickening going up Eau Rouge. You really hate to see, especially after the incidents in the last couple of years. Really, really bad to see. But thankfully, he was okay. He managed to get out of the car. It looked like he did hurt his arm and he did have to go to the hospital to get that checked out. But ultimately, he was okay. He was cleared to race, which is the most important thing, that he's fine. But yeah, really bad one. We also saw a couple of radio messages from Vettel in particular and Norris himself saying, hey, it's too wet out here. We should red flag this almost immediately before the incident. So as you can imagine, people were quite upset about that as well. And Vettel, fair play to him, he made the call saying it's too wet, we should red flag it. He was actually the next man on the track after Norris and was the first person on the scene. He saw it happen, he came, stopped his car, made sure Norris was all right before carrying on. Fair play to Vettel, that's brilliant sportsmanship and we love to see it. After that, we did take a break for the red flags. Obviously, Norris was not going to continue. He went off to hospital, he's fine now. But when we did get back to racing, it was almost back to normal. Verstappen was setting fast laps. Hamilton was up there as well. It's what you'd expect to see until right at the very end, Russell puts it on provisional pole out of nowhere. It was brilliant to see. He beat Hamilton on raw pace in the wet. And it was fantastic. So Williams was on provisional pole for some time. It wasn't until Verstappen's last run that he managed to beat Russell. Fair play, Verstappen did a great job, but a bit of a shame really, isn't it? So that's where they lined up on the grid. Verstappen P1, Russell in a Williams on the front row P2. Congratulations to that man. That is a super job. And Hamilton actually lined up P3. I think it would have been really nice to have Norris in that session if he hadn't crashed out, because the way he was performing, he could have also gone for pole. Imagine if we had a Verstappen, Russell, Norris front three in whatever configuration you want. But imagine if that was our front three. Very youthful, very talented, the next generation of F1 for sure. But that's how qualifying settled down. When it came to the race, everybody was going to line up as normal, go into the grid as normal, with the heavy wet tyres on. But then Perez slipped off the track on his drive to the grid, destroyed the front end of the car. Red Bull sent a message to the FIA saying they were withdrawing him from the race. There's no chance they could get that fixed by the time of the race start. And honestly, because of the wet weather, that was the only bit of drama we had. Basically, the race was delayed so long, over 3 hours in the end, that they were able to fix Perez's car. So they were on the horn again to the FIA saying, can we enter this car into the race now? And the FIA originally said no, and then they were like, actually, let's go have a chat about that. So the stewards went off, had a chat about it, and it's like, yeah, actually you can. He'll have to start from the pit lane, but you can enter Perez back into the race. Brilliant. So Red Bull, like number one, fantastic job to the mechanics. They repaired pretty much half a car in a couple of hours. Amazing job. And Perez did manage to actually get classified for the race, which is phenomenal. It was at the back of the grid, but phenomenal job nonetheless. Norris started in 15th after his crash in qualifying because he had to take a new gearbox, so that dropped him 5 places down. Bottas also dropped 5 places, as well as Stroll. They were just taking penalties. At the start, we managed to do a formation lap and then a second formation lap before red flag. That originally kicked off the 3-hour time limit we have for a Grand Prix. However, on the 1 hour mark, with 1 hour to go, the FIA then stopped the time limit using the International Sporting Code, which I didn't know was a thing until this race, which allows them to stop the countdown with an hour to go to try and find a break in the rain. That's what they were doing with it. So fair play to them. They used all the powers they had to try and give us a good race, which is good, which is phenomenal. That's what we want to see, right? And then after 3 hours of waiting, over 3 hours of waiting, they finally gave us the go-ahead to start again. The sad news here was the weather hadn't improved. It had only got worse. So, under the safety car conditions, again, they made sure to do 2 laps, which would classify the race as a real result, giving everybody half points because they didn't do 75% race distance. So they did 2 laps, get the half points, red flag, come in, race done. It's a real shame. There was speculation at one point saying, hey, are we going to go and do this tomorrow? Are we able to do this tomorrow? So there's like ideas being floated around to see if we could get a better race at any point, or even if we could just go racing, like just get a race done. I think they settled on this because we've got a race coming next weekend. It's a triple header now from here on inwards. So all the logistics of moving the gear, moving the cameras, moving the teams, it has to start immediately tomorrow. So there's no chance that they could do a race tomorrow, move all the gear, and still be set up for a race in the Netherlands on Sunday. Which is a shame. But what does this mean for the classifications here? Well, it means Verstappen gets another win. Only half points, but it's a win. And that means George Russell gets his first podium in F1. He also gets at that podium for Williams. Williams get a P2 at the Belgian Grand Prix. Again, only half points, but it's a podium. It's a second place. They count. That will go into the history books. And Hamilton comes home in P3. Not only does Russell get his second place for Williams, but Latifi got P9 as well. That is 2 races in a row that Williams have double scored points. Can't believe I'm saying that, especially this season, right? Like, I was hoping to be able to say that a few seasons down the line, but this season I'm able to say in 2 races in a row, Williams have scored double points. Amazing result. And it just shows you, it's like, There are teams that can pick up the scraps when these crazy races happen, and Williams have done that twice now in a row. So fair play to them. I wish we got more of a race, but you know, what can you do? You can't race against Mother Nature. It's the right thing to do for safety. So we'll go on to the Netherlands next weekend, and we'll hopefully have a decent race there to make up for it, eh? What do you guys think? Any takeaways that you had from this race? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching that video. I really do appreciate the support. If you want to see more from me, I'm going to put a couple of extra videos on the left-hand side of the screen here for you. Just go ahead and click on one of those. On the right-hand side of the screen, I'm going to put a subscribe button. If you want to support me and support the channel, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.